this computer. Get a new hard drive. Good evening and welcome to the Metaphysical Bible Hangout. This is the Bible study for Up Church, Understanding Principles Church, which is based in Inglewood, California. And I'm Reverend Sherri James, Senior Minister for Up Church. I am excited to be here tonight because this is one of my favorite conversations to have, which is about time. We are working from a text called Your Faith is Your Fortune. Your Faith is Your Fortune. The author is Neville Goddard. And the question that we are answering today is, do you know how to master time? Do you know how to master time? And the chapter title we're on, I believe it's chapter 14, but it actually might be chapter 15. I might have got that part wrong. It is chapter 15, interval of time. Interval of time. So we have been rocking and rolling through this text, but it's been amazing because Neville's just that kind of dude. So I've got a couple of announcements, then we'll have opening prayer, then we'll answer the question, do you know how to master time? And then we'll talk about 3 life hacks to master time. So this conversation, well, we'll flow through it, but it is, I'm only going to talk about 3 things tonight. And then we'll have Q&A. And of course, ask questions throughout. I want you to ask questions. That's just a part of the process. And it, you know, my teacher, Reverend Mary Tumpkin, taught me that questions are like, she said, if you've ever scaled a mountain, you have these, and you needed equipment, that the grappling hook is what you hook into the side of the mountain that then provides the tension that you rely on to pull you up to the mountain and to get you to the top. Your questions are like the grappling hook, that as you are moving through life, that what moves you through life, moves you through the development of your consciousness, are the questions that you keep on your heart. So I love questions. I can't stress that enough. So your questions make me happy. I think it's important to know your why. And I always like to share this with you because, one, I want you to know your why, but I also want you to know why, even when everything gets turned upside down, I make Thursday nights happen. And that is because I have a unshakable commitment to awaken you to your divine nature. I know that all the answers to everything that you're dealing with lies on the other side of really understanding who you are spiritually, to really grasping who you are spiritually. That when you know yourself to be God in expression, you're unmoved by little things. You're unmoved by the things that you see in the world, and you develop this unflappable nature. No matter what it is that comes your way, you know that I am victorious over whatever circumstance. And it could be small, it could be large. I have a dog. Unwillingly, I have a dog. And the dog got out, and I had to get the dog in the house in order to get out of the house, out of the complex, to get Jordan on time. And literally this dog, which is over 100 pounds, just dug in his heels like, I am not coming in. I'm not going back in that cage. And you know, that feeling of like, oh my God, am I going to pick Jordan up on time? And it was like, no, I'm master of this. I'm master over all the elements. Get back in that cage. Get back where I tell you to go. That when you are, and that's what I'm saying, it's just not just for big stuff like dealing with an illness or manifesting the love of your life or whatever. It's also dealing with like the little stuff, like the dog got out and you need to get the dog back in. But when you awaken to your divine nature, nothing shakes you. Nothing shakes you. And it really is possible. And it's amazing to get there. The Bible Hangout is free. It always is, always will be. But it does cost to produce it. I learned that last week because we had to get some software to get rid of all the viruses. Like, I've been hacked so many times this year, which is crazy. So anyway, there's new software on the site. Those of you that reported to me that your browser wouldn't let you go there, all of that should be rectified. I've been cleared up with all the sites where I was listed as a malicious site. And so if you want to support this ministry, if you want to see this go around the world, you want to see more people get involved in this, then your donations help with spreading the word, to help with covering the cost, so that it's basically handle. And it also means that then money can be applied toward marketing and other things to get the word out. Panorama of Truth is coming. I am getting excited because this is going to be an incredible experience. So we've got Dr. Deborah Johnson, is he doctor? I don't know. Michael Bernard Beckwith, not Kevin Ross, Galen McDowell, Greg Stamper, Barbara DeAngelis. I think Roma Downey is going to be there. We're doing a tribute to Reverend Della. Who am I missing? I know. Oh my God, Les Brown, the motivator. Les Brown will be there. And this Panorama of Truth is so off the chain. Like, it is the anticipation that I have. So there's still room. If you are interested in going, if you were on the fence, this is your message to get. This is your sign to get off the fence. What happens at this conference is being in a group of like-minded people where you are immersed in an environment that reminds you who you are spiritually over and over and over and over again. And so you leave, you can imagine going somewhere and just being drenched in the awareness that I am God in expression. That's what Panorama of Truth is like. And I cannot oversell it. It is an amazing experience. I hope that you will come join me. I'll be broadcasting Bible Hangout from Panorama of Truth, which is the same night that we do Reverend Della's tribute. So I say that because those of you that sit live, I may have to adjust the time just a little bit to accommodate the tribute. I think we'll be okay, but just in case, I may have to go start a little bit later to accommodate the tribute. But I'll also be teaching a Bible class at the Panorama of Truth. So definitely come on through. Really, really, really excited about that. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey. We're at Harrah's Hotel and Resort, Casino and Resort. And you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Come be a part of celebrating the love that makes us one. The scripture for this series is, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. This entire series is about developing the faith to have whatever it is that you want. Developing the faith to have whatever it is that you want, opening your heart and your mind to receive whatever it is that you want. And there is what we're doing. So everybody has faith, but everybody doesn't use their faith. And you don't necessarily get more faith, but you make better use of the faith that you have. And that's what we're doing, that we're becoming more effective with the faith that we have. That's what this series of lessons with Neville Goddard is about tapping into that faith, which is where your fortune lies. And so let's relax before we get into this conversation, because I'm excited. It's going to be amazing. I'm declaring that. I'm calling victory before the game starts. Thank you, God, for just an amazing class. Thank you for the skill to communicate what you gave me. I thank you for open hearts on the minds of the people who are attending live, as well as those who are listening back after the broadcast has been recorded. I am thanking you because I know that someone's going to hear something that's going to change them at depth. And it won't be because of me, but it will be because of you. And so I ask that everything that is done in this time together is for your glory, is to represent you and to prove you in the world. I thank you, God, for this platform. I thank you for this class. I thank you for this evening. In the name and nature of Jesus, it is so. And so it is. All right, let's dig in. So, do you know how to master time? So here's the thing about time. There's no in between on this. You either learn to master time or time masters you. You either learn to master time or time masters you. Zig Ziglar, you guys have probably heard his name, if not are familiar with his, with what he's taught as a motivational speaker. He was one of the influences on Les Brown and a host of other motivational speakers. He said, lack of direction, not lack of time, is the problem. We all have 24-hour days. I have the same amount of time as you. You have the same amount of time as Oprah. Oprah has the same amount of time as the person on the corner down the street from wherever you saw them. We literally, time is the great equalizer. All of us have the same amount of time. The question is, what do you do with the time that you have? And that really is what mastering time is about. It is, how do I use this resource that God has given me? How do I make the best use of this time? The thing about time, because we have many resources, we have, all the minerals and other treasures that are in the earth, gold, silver, oil, zinc, copper, all those, we have all of that. Time, though, is the one non-renewable resource we have, and we each have an equal amount of, but it's non-renewable. So like once a moment passes, you cannot go back to that moment. You can't, your only option is to go back in your memory, but you can't go back in any kind of real time way. And so many of us, we wallow away the time that we have, either through lack of direction, unwillingness to make a decision, or just unable to pull ourselves out of grief and depression and sadness and other things like that, or perpetual anger or whatever. And so what we want to do is we want to make the most of each moment, that when we come to the end of this experience, we want to know that we have used what we have been given well, that the Father will say to each of us, well done, thy good and faithful servant. And so we don't want to just master money and, health and all of those other things. Those are important. We want those, but really we want to master time, because when you master time, all of those other things fall into line. When you make sure that every moment is maximized, then everything else falls in line, because you cannot be effective with time and then not be effective with everything else. Because anyway, you cannot be effective with time and then ineffective with other things. You handle time, everything else gets handled. So this is a quote from Neville. I want to spend some time here. So I want to give you 3 life hacks for mastering time. The first thing you want to do is to use your mind to collapse time, because you have the ability to do it, and you've done it. You've had moments where it felt like time just galloped. Like you looked around and you were like, oh my God, it's the end of the day already. And then there are other times where you're sitting and you're watching the clock like, woo, come on, 5:30, come on, 5:30. This is a quote from Neville. He says, man is such a slave to time that if after he has appropriated a state of consciousness, so what it means to appropriate a state of consciousness is that if after he has created an imaginary experience that he cannot now see, this is what it says, that after he has appropriated a state of consciousness, so I have imagined myself with Upchurch in our own building, right? Okay, so that's appropriating a state of consciousness, is where you take your mind and you imagine a world, a preferred world. Man is such a slave to time that if after he has appropriated a state of consciousness, which is not now seen by the world, meaning that I see the building in my mind, but the world can't see it because it hasn't yet come to pass. And the appropriated state, if the appropriated state does not immediately embody itself, if that building doesn't show up tomorrow, he loses faith in his unseen claim. That's what happens to us, that we get the vision for what God has for us. We get it in a flash. You see the new car, you see the love that you want, you see the new job that you want, whatever it is. And if it does not show up in your experience within, I guess, the length of time that it takes you to just kind of wait for it, you lose faith. And it's like, well, maybe this is a sign from God that I shouldn't have this. And you literally drop it and return to your former state of being. And so the dream is there. It's been formed because it's formed the moment that you imagine it. But there's nothing in you to draw it out of you and into expression. So what you want to learn to do is to use your mind to collapse time. And what collapsing time is about, it is about the management of your attention. Your gift as a spiritual being your greatest gift lies in what do I give my attention to? Because what I give my attention to has me. Whatever has my attention has me. So this happened earlier this week. So I was thinking, and I was like, what's happening when I'm not feeling abundant, right? When I'm not feeling abundant. And one of the things that I realized that was influencing me not feeling abundant is that, well, I was thinking about all the things that weren't the way that I wanted them to be. And so I was remembering what wasn't the way that I wanted it to be in my life. I was remembering, what I didn't have. I was remembering what didn't go right. I was remembering, but hear what I'm saying. I got to remember all these things. And so by thinking about what isn't the way that I want it to be, it produced a feeling inside of me. Right. And as that feeling was produced inside of me, the dream got pushed further and further and further away. Literally, just by what I was paying attention to. And so then I asked myself, so, okay, what's the difference then? Well, then if I can make myself feel like I don't have, or feel poor, or feel like I'm lacking by thinking about what I don't have, what would happen if I thought about what I do have? What if the same way that I concentrate on what I have concentrated on what I don't have, if I concentrate on what I do have? And I did it. And you know what? All of a sudden I was in a different state of mind. I had a different feeling about my body. And the dream now came closer. So you have the ability to collapse time, but how you collapse time is about where you place your attention. What are you paying attention to? Florence Scovel-Shinn says it this way. She says, what you notice, you combine with. So if you notice all the things in your experience that aren't going right, you start to combine with them. You start to develop feelings about those things. And over time, what started out as a mood becomes a disposition. And as it gets prolonged, over time, it becomes a personality trait. And you say, well, why is that person so unhappy? Well, they didn't start out life unhappy, but they practiced feeling unhappy over time and allowing that feeling to fester and continually focusing on all the things that aren't going right in their lives. And now the feeling of unhappy is memorized, and they don't even have to think of the unhappy moment or the things that aren't going right. The body has memorized feeling unhappy, and it will start to tell the mind what to think. So what you want to do is rest back your mind and think. And so you collapse time with your mind by focusing on all of the good things in your experience. You can just make an inventory list. You can literally just sit down and just start to write all the things. Just deal with your house. What are all the things that I have with my house? Well, I've got furniture. I've got, my lights are on. And you just go through the list. 101 things. Literally, it shifts your mood. Such a simple technique. But what happens is that you begin to collapse the distance, the time distance between you and your dream, because you produce a feeling of havingness. Something I learned is that every dream has a gestation period. Every dream, every prayer has a gestation period. So in summer 2002, I started keeping a prayer journal. And it was the way that I learned to pray. And I always wrote forward, meaning that I never went back and read previous entries. I just wrote the next entry. And I did this every day. It was one of the most satisfying ways that I learned to pray. And when probably around 2000, end of 2005, early 2006, I had the idea, I should probably try to turn these into a book or something, journal prompt, something, because this has been so beneficial to me. And so I actually sat down and said, you know what, let me just begin to transcribe these journals just so I can see what's in them to help me think about like what a book might look like. So it was the first time that I actually looked back at the entries since summer 2002. And now we're talking about fall, winter 2006. And I was absolutely amazed. I saw so many prayers that came to pass. I saw prayers that came to pass I forgot about. Like that was the thing that shocked me the most. It was like there were prayers I forgot I prayed about it. And it had come to pass. The other thing was the exactitude. It was almost like I was writing my experience into expression. It was like Twilight Zone, like doo-doo-doo-doo, like whoa. What it taught me is that every prayer is answered, but every prayer has a gestation period. And you know what I mean by gestation period, a period by which the prayer is formed, meaning you made the ask, over the length of time that then the prayer is answered, or there's the manifestation. So that gestation period. What happens is that most of us let go of the prayer in the gestation period. And by the time the prayer is answered, we've either forgotten that we prayed it, or we don't even notice the answer has come. And so that experience really taught me. It's like I can say with certainty, all prayer is answered. It's what drives my belief in prayer, is that experience, is just seeing the exactitude. And some prayers came to pass inside of 24 hours or a couple of hours. Some prayers took 2 days. Some prayers took a month. Some prayers took 3 or 4 months. Some prayers took 3 or 4 years. And then some had not yet been answered. But seeing how many were answered and the painstaking exactitude with which God answered them, I was like, oh no, I know those will be answered too. So what has to happen in that gestation period is that you've got to know where to place your attention. In that gestation period, you can't, what many people do is they focus on, well, when is the prayer going to manifest? Like, and how, and I'm measuring the time distance between the day that I prayed the prayer and where I am today. And is it here right now? And, I can't tell you a whole lot about how to speed up the gestation process. I don't know that that's, maybe God will give me insight on that other than just be patient, but what I can tell you is that your asset is about where you place your attention. And what collapses time, what collapses that time distance, the feeling of it, because time is a feeling. What collapses that time distance is staying in a state of havingness. That when you're in that state of havingness, your attention is off of when will this happen, or is this going to happen, or is God trying to tell me something by not giving me what I asked for, or whatever the questions that we ask God. And what it does is it puts you in a state of receptivity, because I have all of these things. You can sit and just do a having inventory on your family, or you can do a having inventory on your health. But again, what you're doing is that you're breaking the attachment to time, and you're using the asset that God gave you, which is your attention, to basically collapse that time. Any questions on that? Let me know if any questions on that. Yes, Alita says, tell your mind how to think. Yes, tell your feelings how to feel. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. So one of the things that you can do in this gestation period. So when you pray for something, the only reason you don't have it is you're not the person who can have it. When you pray for something, the only reason you do not have it is you're not the person yet who can have it. Prayer is a process of becoming. And you start the process of becoming with the ask in the prayer. And when you make the ask, that process starts. Now, what usually happens is it takes us so long to just become the person because we're not intentional about becoming the person who can have what we want. One of the things that you can do to collapse time, after you have prayed the prayer, ask God for insight on who do I need to be for this prayer to be answered. And then listen. Who do I need to be in order for this prayer to be answered? Who must I become? Because that's what every prayer is about. Every prayer is about the evolution of your consciousness. Everything that you seek is about you becoming more than who you think you are right now. It is about expanding yourself. So one of the things that you want to do during the gestation period while you are waiting on the blessing is that you want to begin to concentrate on who is God asking me to be in order to have what I want. Do I need to be more open? Do I need to be more thoughtful? Do I need to be more mindful? Do I need to be less focused on the outcome and more focused on the journey? Who do I need to be? Because what happens when you start to focus on who you need to be, that's a preparation, is that your mind is off of when, and now it's on that personal development, letting that gift of God out into expression. Who do I need to be? What needs to change in me in order for this prayer to become so? Not the physical things, although there may be physical things that need to change, but what are the mental things that need to change? Is there some forgiveness? Perhaps what's blocking this blessing is that I won't forgive something that happened to me 15, 20 years ago. Is it just, getting out of relationship with the world and getting into relationship with God? I don't know. These are the questions that you ask in your prayer time, and you will get that insight. But that the gestation period is about becoming the person who can have what you want. And it's the management of your attention. It's taking your attention off of when is this prayer going to happen and putting it on who am I becoming? Who is God calling me to be? I have a desire to, speak and write and teach and travel all over the world doing this. Who do I need to become? Who is God asking me to become to be that person? Maybe that person maybe needs greater self-confidence. Maybe that person needs greater belief in herself. Again, these are the questions that you take into the prayer. Who are you asking me to become? Who are you asking me to become? Jesus closes the Beatitudes with this one. He says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." That Greek word that translates as righteousness, that translates as persecuted is dioko. Dioko. And that word means to be persecuted, but it's always related to being called according to God's purpose. So what God gave me is that there's a difference between persecution and suffering. That when you are pulled by a vision, that one of the things that happens when you have a higher vision for yourself, when you have a higher vision for greater health, a higher vision for greater wealth, a higher vision for greater happiness, or whatever that higher vision is, you've got to confront and subdue who you are right now. One of the things that we'll make this confession session. One of the things that I was sitting with a friend this week who was going through a hospital experience, and I shared with her, we were talking about, next level, where we're going, respectively, things that she's doing and things that I'm interested in doing. And I said, you know, one of the things that I've never really done is that I really need to get professional headshots. I need to like get professional headshots that essentially with photos, I have basically cropped other existing photos. And what I realized is that there was a little bit of playing small that was involved with that way of handling myself as a speaker. And so perhaps this dream of being all over the world and traveling with this teaching and sharing this in multiple countries and, you know, that platform is about not playing small. Who is God asking you to become? The gestation period is about you becoming. So this persecution versus suffering, that when you are called according to a vision, you have to confront and subdue the you who exists right now. And so I have to meet and subdue the Sherri who wants to play small. The Sherri who wants to go out on a big stage, but is actually afraid to go out on a big stage. This is what that gestation period is about. It is about going through the persecution that comes with meeting who you are. The going through the persecution of confronting those habits, those attitudes, those beliefs, those things that keep you in bondage, and letting them go. Really letting them go. Really letting them go. And, you know, one of the things I know that I looked at is, you know, when you step out into the public sphere, you open yourself up to criticism in a major way. And that don't look like fun. That don't look like fun at all. The stuff I see happening to people that folk love. And then it's like that's all part of the territory because people project themselves onto you. I got to confront and subdue that young girl that's scared, that's afraid to be quote unquote torn apart. Right, I'm making this up, you know, making this up in my mind, but it doesn't have to be necessarily true. But if I'm honest with like, okay, who am I? What shell am I dropping in this gestation period? And it takes a lot. It doesn't have to take a lot. It can take a lot to overcome that concept of yourself. Whatever that is. Now, your thing is relative to wherever you're going and where God is taking you. But in that gestation period, you are dropping the mask of who you are now for who God is asking you to be. Maybe you've got an anger management issue. You know, anything can set you off. And in order to get where God is taking you, you got to handle that. Maybe you hold grudges, and to get where God is taking you, you got to handle that. So this blessed are they that are persecuted, that the reason that they're blessed is because they're willing to endure the work that it takes to get over who they are right now in order to be who God is calling them to be. And you can only do that if you have a higher vision for yourself. Without a higher vision, you're just suffering. You're just going through stuff. You're not necessarily confronting anything, but you're just going through the slings and arrows of life that just come just as a part of life. But when you're called according to his purpose, you're going to be persecuted, not by people outside of you, but by the you that exists right now. The you that doesn't want to let go being petty. The you that doesn't want to let go being afraid. The you that doesn't want to let go playing small. That's who you're going to be persecuted by. And he's saying you're blessed when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake, when you are have to confront who you are in order to have something greater than what you are right now. Any questions? Any questions on that? Cool. Let's keep rolling. So the second hack I want to give you is that you got to learn the art of time travel. You got to learn the art of time travel. So what Neville says is that we can at any time consciously dwell in that day or season which we have selected. You do not have to stay in the state that you're in. You need to be in the present moment, but you don't have to be in the state that you're in. At any time, you can consciously dwell in that day or season. So the verse that he used, and he was the first one that I heard the verse used this way, and it just blew my whole hair back. He said, this is John 14, 1-3. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in me, or you believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. So the way that this verse has traditionally been taught has been of Jesus speaking of the afterlife. I'm going to prepare a place in heaven for you. I'm going to come back and get you. Basically, you're going to die and come with me. The mystical teaching underneath this is that I am, right? I am the Christ within each one of us, goes to prepare a place for us. And where I am, when the place itself is ready, I come back to get you and take you to the place. Now, where's the place? Well, that question is easily answered. What have you been attaching to I am? Because whatever you have been attaching to I am is the place that's being prepared for you. Whatever you have been attaching to I am, you don't have to make an I am, like an explicit I am statement to make an I am statement. So I want to say that. So someone might say, well, I never say I am broke, but you behave like I am broke, right? So essentially you made the same statement. So even if you don't ever use the words I am, but you embody the statement I am broke, then that's the place that's being prepared for you. And so he says, let not your heart be troubled. Don't worry. You coming wherever you telling me to go. And you're telling me where to go. You are telling God where to go for you by how you use his name. This is why the scripture says, don't take the name of the Lord in vain. Every time you attach something to I am that is less than God's nature, you take the name of the Lord in vain. We all take the name of the Lord. We all take the name of the Lord, but we don't all take the name of the Lord in right use or righteousness. We use I am to basically defame, slander, and downright kill ourselves. And so what I'm saying is that take I am and use it rightly. I am health. I am perfect health. I am the health of God in action. When people see me, they see what health looks like. When people see me, they see what wealth looks like. I am wealth. I am joy. I represent joy. When people come into my aura and however they came into my space, when they leave me, they're more joyful. They're happier because I am the joy of God in expression. I am the peace of God in expression. People come into my space, they might be worried or concerned about whatever is going on in the world, but when they get around me, they know that everything is already all right because I'm embodying I am perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect happiness. Everything is wonderful. Everything is wonderful. And so he says, this ability to dwell at any point in time permits us to employ time in our travel into the desired mansion. A mansion is just a state of consciousness, right? In my Father's house, there are many states of consciousness. And so he says, now consciousness, I am, go to a point in time and there prepare a place. I'm reading from page 93. If I go to such a point in time and prepare a place, I shall return to this point in time where I have left. And I shall pick up and take you with me into that place which I have prepared, that where I am, there you may also be. What you want to learn to do is we all time travel. Let me say that. We all time travel. I was time traveling today. I shared earlier before I started the recording, I did some home improvement today. I was so excited. I fixed my faucet, which was a huge deal because it had needed fixing for a little while. And at like 2:30, I'm driving back from Home Depot, like, the blog post is not written, and I'm not, I knew what I was going to say, but because I prepared that part earlier, but it had not been finished. And I'm sitting there like, okay, and I'm tired. I've been up since 5, and okay. And so I was time traveling in the wrong direction. And I had to catch myself and reverse and go back to the good direction, which is that even if I only have 10 minutes, that's enough time to get everything together. So we all time travel. The question is whether or not we time travel in a way that supports who we are, that expands who we are, or whether or not we time travel and create for ourselves a hell on earth. You're going to try time travel. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this time travel mental rehearsal. And I like that term because, being in entertainment, I know what a rehearsal is, and I know what it is to rehearse something until you get it where you need it. That, before you take the shot, you work with the actors, you give them direction on the scene, and you let them know what it is that you're looking for. And you keep going until you sort of tweak the scene the way that you need it to be. And then you call action. And so that rehearsal, I get that. And so you can do that with with this time travel, that you can literally rehearse a future moment until you get it right, until it's full of feeling. So I did that. I had an experience where I was going through, I needed to get a modification, and if I didn't get it, I was gonna be in danger of losing my home. And I literally made a vision board with my house on it and all scriptures relating to a home. And I would go and I would sit in my prayer closet, and I would, pray for just, right outcome. And then I would hear my mom say to me, "Congratulations, Sherri, you really did it. You pulled it off." And that's all. I just heard that. And literally out of the blue, without going into a whole lot of detail, because I got to get to the third point here, but literally it came to pass like that. That, the under miraculous circumstances, the modification was achieved. And none of the parameters for actually getting the modification were actually met. Like nothing changed. Somebody must have looked at the paperwork and said, stamp it and send it on through or whatever. I don't know, but they did. My point being is that time travel in the right way. Mentally rehearse what it is that you want. And it doesn't have to be big. So when I first started learning visualization, I kept trying to have these big, elaborate, I'm going to imagine my perfect day, and I'm, going to a meeting here, but then I'm going shopping over here. And I was building this big old scene, but the problem is that I didn't have the attention to sustain it. And so, not even 2 minutes, shoots, 20 seconds into the visualization, my mind is off running somewhere else. What I've learned is that you just need a key moment. Whatever is a key moment that symbolizes that what you've asked God for has come to pass, that's all you need. And so literally, like hearing my mom say, "Congratulations, Sherri, you pulled it off." Pick something like that. If you're going through something right now, what's something like maybe a conversation with your child or with your parent or with a best friend or whomever, and hear them say to you, "Congratulations, you knocked it out of the park," or whatever it's relative to. Hear that. Or maybe it's a look in the eyes that the person would give you. And so see yourself looking in that person's eyes and receiving that sense of celebration with them, that what you ask for, you've achieved. So this is how you use that time travel. And then you want to put feeling to it. You want to make it as real as possible. So obviously I know the sound of my mom's voice. And because she's such a big influence on my life, that, having her say congratulations to me, her approval of me is very important to me. And her being proud of me is very important to me. And so hearing that, right, is that that was an easy scene to create. It was easy, and it was something that I could play over in my mind. I didn't have to build out an entire conversation. I just needed to hear her say that one line. And I would just hear it. I guess I heard it in this ear. I think I did. And I would just hear it, and it would impress the subconscious mind. Like, you don't need a whole lot to impress the subconscious mind. You just need the feeling. You need it to feel as real as possible. That's what you're going for. And then what you do is you bring those feelings into the present moment. So now you've rehearsed the scene, you've got it down, you know what it feels like to hear that person who means something to you congratulate you on receiving what you asked God for. And so now you take that feeling into the present moment, like, this is going to happen because I felt it. I know it. I know it's going to happen. It's just it's almost like you develop an inner conviction about it. So this is what this is about. And John, I would definitely say, really sit with John 14, 1 through 4, John 14, 1 through 4, because those verses are so powerful, and they explain the action of I am, that where I go, I prepare a place for you. But the thing is, and you got to get this, is that you control where I am goes by how you use I am, whether you specifically say I am or whether you behave like I am. Any questions on that? Number 3, give yourself the time you need. Give yourself the time you need. This was a really powerful piece here. He says, time, this is on page 94, time is ever conditioned by man's conception of himself. How you feel about time, how you feel about yourself, determines how you feel about time. How you feel about yourself determines how you feel about time. He says, confidence in yourself as determined by conditioned consciousness, like who are you, how confident are you, always shortens the interval of time. So let's talk about what that means. So only you can say how you feel about yourself. Only you. No one can tell you how you feel about yourself. They can tell you how they feel about you, but they can't tell you how you feel about you. So you've got to get clear on that within yourself. The person who's accustomed to experiencing personal success has a shorter window of time to manifest. Because in order to manifest, you need confidence in yourself. In fact, you need as much confidence in yourself as you have in God. Actually, probably more. What you let out of you into expression is a function of the confidence that you have in yourself. And so what happens is that when you believe in yourself, it does not take you long to manifest because you believe in yourself. You expect it to work out because you're confident in your ability to pull it off. What happens with time is that we give ourselves a window of time that really doesn't honor how we see ourselves. And so we give ourselves unrealistic time frames for something to happen, and then we beat ourselves up when it doesn't happen. So it isn't about pulling back on your dreams or getting a smaller dream, but it's about having a time frame that recognizes who you are today. Now, the thing is that you're going to develop momentum because just demonstration itself produces confidence. You know, if you think back to when you first learned to drive a car, and you know, I remember turning off of Mohawk, was the name of the street, onto Homestead Road, making that left turn, and I remember the not fear, that wasn't the word, because I was teenagers, you're just confident on for no good reason. But how unwieldy the car felt. And, I was like waiting, like make sure it was a far distance on the left and a far distance on the right. Like there was room to turn the corner. So and then the feeling of like the car felt so big compared to the borders of the lane. And it was like, how do people stay within the lines? Like, and I remember that period of getting oriented. But then once I got oriented, then I was oriented and I knew how to do it. And then my confidence developed just naturally over time. And every time I went somewhere and safely returned home, my confidence built and built and built and built and built. And so don't worry about needing to give yourself a stretched out amount of time, because you're going to build the confidence. As you make demonstrations, you're going to just get better and get more confident just naturally. But when you're starting out, give yourself the time that you need. One of the ways that we keep ourselves a slave to time is that we don't give ourselves enough time, and then we beat ourselves over the head when we fail to meet the deadline. The other thing you want to do with time in terms of giving yourself the time that you need is chunk it out. So one of the things that I have learned to do is to work in 21-day and 30-day chunks. I love a 30-day challenge, a 21-day challenge, or something like that. I learned to break the habit of soda. So I had a serious soda habit, meaning just, every day, at least one 20-ounce Diet Dr. Pepper, at least. And, I read the studies. I knew that the aspartame wasn't good. I knew that the phosphoric acid leaches calcium from the bone. I know all the research, but it was that I wanted that Diet Dr. Pepper. And so one September, I said, I'm just going to take 30 days and just not have any soda. And I give myself permission at the end of September to go back and start drinking soda again. And so I had that out. October 1, I could get a soda. And so October 1 came and I was like, you know what? I'm going to continue this challenge, but I'm going to give myself the same out. And, but it was easy to do because you can do anything for 30 days. Anybody can do anything for 30 days. And I did the same thing for November. And then in about 90 days, whatever is that like gotta have it feeling, that hunger inside, it literally broke. It literally broke. And so I didn't know it was going to take me 90 days to break the habit of soda. I don't even know if I could have set a timeline when I was thinking about it. But I just worked in manageable chunks. And those manageable chunks helped me to establish a habit or break a habit that I had had for years. And I've been drinking sodas since I was at least a teenager. And, when I started learning about health and nutrition and things like that, I moved over to diet soda as opposed to the sugary soda. But, it was still one of those things that was like, that's just going to be my vice. I'm going to have that soda. But it was something that I wanted to get rid of, but just couldn't figure out how to break. And then it was like, just for this month, just let it go. So you got to give yourself the time that you need. And you got to give yourself if you do it in smaller chunks, then you don't have to live in the, how long is this going to take? Because you're only doing these small chunks. It's manageable. Got a couple comments. Oh, Alita says, that's how I quit smoking. Cool, cool, cool. Andrea says, Diet Mountain Dew was my jam. Took you 7 days to quit smoking, Alita? That's amazing. That's an awesome testimony. Oh, what did I do? Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. So when you master time, you really do make time your friend. That's really the deal. When you master time, you make time your friend. And I have a friend who always says time can be your greatest friend or your worst enemy. And he's always using it in relation to someone's character. Like, listen, I don't have to trust you because time will either be your greatest friend or your worst enemy. But what I want to use it is in relationship to time itself, and specifically your relationship with time. Because what happens is that if you learn to master time, if you use your mind to collapse time, and you learn the art of time travel, and you give yourself the time that you need, you make time your friend. The other piece of that is that when you walk in your purpose, when you have something that is pulling you along, you literally have all the time in the world to pull it off, because you're walking in your purpose. And so you literally begin to just collapse time, and things that normally would take 3 months, you can knock out in a week. But you're walking in your purpose, and you're not lollygagging and doing a whole bunch of other stuff that's outside of your purpose. I got a couple of comments. Got it. Awesome. She said, I did figure out why I smoked, and that helped. Yes. Understanding why is important. Absolutely important. So become a master of time. And are you ready to make mastering time a priority? That's the thing. Are you ready to make it a priority? I hope that you are. I hope that you are, because it opens up so many other doors for you. It opens up so many other doors for you. When you master time, what mastering time is about the management of your attention, and it's about walking in your purpose. And when you do that, when you begin to walk in your purpose, then you literally stretch out the years, and you start to accomplish what seems impossible inside of short windows of time. Before you move to your next task, choose one goal that you're going to use to practice mastering time with. So maybe your purpose in your home or in your car, maybe it could be something on the job or whatever, but choose a goal that you're going to practice mastering time in. So you're going to decide, what is my purpose in this, right? So I want to improve how I do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't have to be a huge goal, but I want to improve how I do this. And then I want to use focusing my attention on who I need to become in order for this goal to be realized. And then you want to look and say, okay, what do I need to do to time travel? Like how can I go into the future? What's a symbolic moment in the future that represents the realization of this goal? And then really awaken all of the feelings that are associated with that. And then give yourself the time that you need. So maybe you won't be able to say, by this date, but maybe you could say, for the next 30 days, this is what I'm going to do. That's part of me mastering this goal. Or for the next 21 days, this is what I'm going to do. So just choose one thing to work on that you're going to use to master time. And then when you do that, move to the next thing, choose the next thing. And as you develop that momentum, that confidence then builds. And then now you're accomplishing things that normally would have taken you 3 months, you're knocking out inside of a week, because your capacity has expanded. Thank you guys for tonight. I hope that this was helpful for you to think about time. If this webinar helped you, please subscribe and share with a friend. This is I want to spread the word and tell everybody. Let's get the word out. Next week, we will be talking about the triune God. Triune God. 97, page 97 to 100. So it's very short, 3 pages. Page 97 to 100. So 4 pages. So you know he's going to bring it with the triune God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. And do I have any announcements? I will be in Phoenix, Arizona at the end of July. So if you are in the Phoenix area, I'd love to see you. I will be at the INTA 103rd Congress for the International New Thought Alliance, and I would love to see you there. I will have lots of time for coffee and all of that because it's just me and Jordan going and hanging out. And so definitely, if you're in the area, I would love to see you. All right. God bless. Have a great evening.